is Garrett O'Connor, and we are here to do a press conference related to an Occupy arrest on January 1st, 2012. This settlement with the NYPD is the biggest settlement related to Occupy to date, and so we're out here getting the word out about that. As I said, we were falsely arrested, and that often has a chilling effect on protest, on free speech, which is something that, Occupy Wall Street, there may be different opinions on a lot of things, but I think free expression is something that is pretty universally stood for, and we felt that it was important to stand up for it this time.
Go into a little bit, if maybe brief summary of what happened, your story specifically, on what happened that night and kind of just the process of coming to this point, the press conference today.
Okay. Yeah, on the night of the arrest, as I said, it was January 1st, 2012, so that's New Year's Eve going into New Year's. It was in the early morning hours. Rather than celebrating, as most people would do, sort of going out and partying, what we thought it was important to do was to acknowledge our accomplishments from 2011 and send the message that, as far as inequality and a culture that puts profit over people, that we're not going to stand for that, and that we're going to continue that moving on to 2012 and beyond. On the night of the arrest, we were marching through the East Village. At certain points, it was clear that the police became frustrated. At a couple points, they had us surrounded and gave orders to disperse. Unfortunately, they gave orders to disperse without giving us a way to disperse, which was, of course, very confusing for us and is confusing to us to this day. We were issued desk appearance tickets and then appeared at court to find out that that they had declined to prosecute. So it was at that point that we decided, in the interest of preserving free speech and expression, to take this action and hold the police accountable.
It seems like a big step here from you. I think you mentioned, or someone else mentioned during the press conference, of how far it's gotten, where there's more awareness with so many different cases of police brutality, and this one. Maybe for an example for other people, there's many other cases that, not just yours and several others. Just the example for people who don't know the conduct of NYPD for the past few years related to protests and stifling dissent, if short.
Yeah, and from the beginning, I wasn't able to be involved at Occupy at the beginning because I was away for work reasons. But once I became involved with Occupy, it was pretty immediate to see how police were treating protesters. I had been in a lot of the larger marches where I had seen some really troubling things. And as you said, there are tons and tons of cases of overstepping boundaries. This is just one of them, hopefully this serves as an example that it's not going to be tolerated, number one, and number two, sort of gives people the opportunity to reflect on what Occupy was and what the identity of Occupy was. We were often portrayed as disorderly or out of control, and this was clearly a situation where it was the opposite.
I just want to wrap it up here quick. It shows also with cases like yours and other cases involving police brutality that most of them are taking it out of plea deals instead of fighting it in court or something like that, and so it would prevent more exposure to what's going on. It shows also, I think you mentioned, the chilling effect. If you could get into that, if related to your case.
Yeah, I mean, it was when you are on the street doing something that you feel is your right and you're arrested for it, it becomes a very confusing situation. Even for somebody like me who's been an activist, who has been around that sort of thing, who has taken civil disobedience arrests before, this was a different situation. This was a situation where we were exercising what we thought were our rights. And that has a lasting effect. It makes you think for a long time about how something like that comes to pass, how such a large group of officers all come to seemingly without much hesitation, be willing to violate one of those sort of sacred American rights to free speech. One of the important things that I wanted to say in addition to that is that one of the really important things out there were a lot of people doing really important work. There was even people from the, at least one representative from the National Lawyers Guild who was arrested around the same time in the same area. And I wanted to also point out the important work that people do who are live streaming, who are taking video. Some of those people were also involved in this, and it plays an extremely important role in holding the police accountable for what they do.
Cecily has been indicted for the felony of assaulting a police officer. The allegation is that Cecily struck a police officer in the area right...
There's this pop culture idea of the trial in America, that the trial is the place where justice is done, where two equal sides battle it out to find the truth. And this is such bullshit. Anyone who has been in a court for any amount of time realizes